I'm gonna be hardcore nuzlocking Pokemon Blue with only normal types. I'm ChaoticMeatball, rules are in the description, and here's the breakdown of our encounters. We're looking at 16 Pokemon in all. Raticate, Pidgeot, Fearow, Wigglytuff, Clefable, Persian, only in blue version, so of course we're going with said version. Farfetch'd, Porygon, Eevee, Dodrio, Snorlax, Ditto, Chansey, Tauros, Kangaskhan, and Lickitung. But a few of these are gonna be unobtainable. Eevee and Porygon are both only available in Celadon City, and the former can't evolve into any of its 3 Gen 1 evolutions, so we'll go with Porygon. And the trio of Chansey, Tauros, and Kangaskhan are all only obtainable in the Safari Zone. So it'll be up to the luck of the draw whether we get the impossibly bulky tank, the best powerhouse in the game, or Kangaskhan. I mean, hey, at least its Jungle Print draws you a card every time you attack. That's more useful than if I used it in this run. Make sure to subscribe to the channel as we're on the drive to 200,000, like the video since it helps a lot, and comment down below what other challenges you'd like to see in the future. I'm looking to complete this graph and finish every single possible monotype hardcore Nuzlocke in the Pokemon franchise that hasn't been done yet, so I want to know what you guys want to see from the incomplete runs first. Anyway, let's dive in. So first things first, we're going to be choosing a non-normal type starter, which we can't use. However, it's going to be Charmander, simply for the convenience of HM usage. It gets cut. The first of my normal types that I can capture can't get cut, so we're going to be sitting with that. We managed to take out the rival with just 1 HP to go, grab Oak's Parcel, and get access to Pokeballs. Now that the Nuzlocke has truly begun, let's go grab our first 3 encounters. Rattata and Pidgey both appear on routes 1 and 2, so we can use both areas to secure both Pokemon. However, after capturing Rattata on route 1 at level 2, my first encounter with Pidgey on route 2 ends up being level 4, so Rattata gets KO'd before I can capture it. We're not even a minute into the run, and I've already lost. Alright everybody, time for you now to vote on which face I'll be making in response to this distasteful defeat. They're all pretty good options. Alright, time is up, voting is closed, and here we go. Attempt number 2 goes a bit more poorly as we lose to our rival, but nothing else goes wrong. I decided to go to route 2 first for my first encounter since I'm not dealing with that underleveled nonsense again, getting a level 5 Pidgey and leaving a level 3 Rattata for route 1. And with the hat trick, we can grab Spearow on route 22, making us ready for the long and arduous process of gaining stat experience. In case you're unaware, stat experience is basically how effort values are calculated in generations 1 and 2, but rather than being a max of 255 effort values per stat, with a final total of 510 amongst an entire Pokemon, we can get a maximum of 65,535 points per stat with no limit, and with 2560 stat experience points providing a single stat point, eventually capping out an additional 25 points in each of my Pokemon stats by the end of training. Make sense? If not, I would suggest looking it up on Bulbapedia. Well, that's why we're fighting exclusively level 2 Pokemon. Stat experience is yielded based on the KO'd Pokemon's base stats. So for example, Pidgey will provide 40 HP, 45 attack, 40 defense, 35 special, and 56 speed points per KO, no matter the level. So it would only make sense to optimize our stat experience intake to get as much as possible by fighting the lowest level Pokemon possible. Especially when the first gym battle against Brock is the Rock type, something we can't really hit hard whatsoever just yet. Since Pidgey was caught at a higher level than everybody else, I decided to just sit here and train up all 3 of them until Pidgey is just shy of breaking Brock's level cap of 14, leaving Rattata and Spearow at level 12 to KO the singular required trainer's Weedle in the Viridian Forest, opening up the path to Brock. But of course, we're going to finish off the obtainable stat experience on these 2 before fighting him. With a few hours of probably unnecessary but very much precautionary work done, we're ready for Brock. Thankfully, despite having 2 flying types, neither his Geodude or his Onix have rock-type attacks, with the only threatening move being Onix's Bide. Geodude only has Tackle and Defense Curl, so I start out with Pidgey to wear it down, using Quick Attack over and over again and getting 2 criticals to bring the Stone Bro down to low yellow HP as Pidgey is brought down to just 5 HP. From here, we're going to swap over to Rattata as I'd like to use this against Onix. Sadly though, Rattata takes more damage than I would have preferred thanks to 2 factors. 1, Defense Curl is too stacked up for me to use Quick Attack for more than a single point of damage, and 2, my other option, Hyper Fang is pretty inaccurate, being only a 90% accurate move if I want to deal just an extra point of damage every turn. You would think that this isn't bad, but I managed to miss 2 Hyper Fangs out of 4, so that may as well just be 50%. This is why I only go with 95% accuracy and above moves, friendos, otherwise they will miss at the time you need them to hit most. Down goes Geodude as Rattata levels up and has about 2/3 HP remaining, leaving just Onix. Now since we outspeed Bide, we are able to just spam Hyper Fang despite getting hit with Screech, doing half damage with 2 of them thanks to a lucky critical, then using Tail Whip a few times during the Bide turns to lower his defense due to no Defense Curl getting in the way. However, Screech has hit a fair bit and he does have Tackle, so I opt to swap out into Spearow, who can keep up the defense lowering train with Leer during the Bide turns. This manages to give me enough time to finish him off with a few pecks, ending the fight. A very sound defeat for Brock against a type that normally does terribly against him, so that should be the hardest part out of the way. Route 3 is just ahead, housing Jigglypuff, which is good theoretically due to the Moonstones being available in Mount Moon, though there are 3 problems standing in the way. 1, Stone evolutions don't learn new moves. 2, Jigglypuff only starts with Sing, so we'll need to switch train it to get anything good. And 3, the best move it can get, Body Slam, is only learned at level 34 or by TM, which can only be obtained once from the SSN, and I intend to use that on Raticate, and I would not rather waste it on a Pokemon that can learn it by level up. So back to Route 1 we go, since it's time to punch more level 2 Pidgey in the face. This time we're not going for Rattata, as we're not switch training 3 Pokemon, instead we're only doing 2. As Rattata provides 16 EXP points, divided by 2 for 8 per Pokemon, whereas Pidgey gives 15 points at level 2, which divided by 2 is 7.5, rounding down to 7 EXP per Pokemon. Again, we're going for the most optimal gaining of stat experience possible, ending the gains at just before level 18. Now you may be wondering, Meatball, why did you do that before entering Mount Moon and getting Clefairy? Couldn't you have just trained that alongside Jigglypuff? And the answer is yes. I tend to overthink things like optimizing experience gains, but macro optimizations like grab 2 Pokemon before training instead of 1 tends to slip my mind. Let's see. On our way through though, we can grab 2 Moonstones, evolving Clefairy straight away, seeing as we're going to just be loading it up on TMs like Water Gun, which we've already obtained from Mount Moon. Once we're out on the other side and jump down those ledges though, say goodbye to optimal stat experience game and hello to fighting every trainer we can for money, as we're going to need 130,000 Pokédollars for Porygon, seeing as it costs 6,500 coins in the Celadon Game Corner. Speaking of trainers though, our rival is ready for our first real fight against him in front of Nugget Bridge, leading Pidgeotto as I lead Spearow, trying to prove who the better bird is. We're able to land a Peck as well as a 3-hit Fury attack as 2 Gusts land for just a hair over half damage, but that's crit range and I'm not having it. Out comes our newly evolved Clefable though to clean up the KO with a single Double Slap, doing the same with a Double Slap and Pound combination to Abra, and 2 Double Slaps to Rattata, leaving just Squirtle. It takes 8 hits of Double Slap overall to take down his starter, doing so over the course of 3 turns and only being brought down to just over half HP in the process to win the match. Good stuff. Now to just clear out routes 24 and 25 before fighting Misty, since we've got just enough room before hitting her level cap of 21 to do so. It helps as well that Water Gun was given to us so early, as this now gives us a very sound attack to use against rock types, despite normally being unable to hit them very easily. You know what would help out more though? Actually teaching the f***ing move to Clefable. I am really kicking myself looking at this footage back again. How can you manage to optimize stat experience to a T, but forget about some of the most basic strategies to make your run easier? Well, as the resident Meatball who has no idea what he's doing, I'm just gonna claim that I wanted to make it more difficult. Yeah, definitely my intention here, guys. Don't leave a comment below telling me how bad I am. After clearing out those routes though, we're not at the level cap yet, so why not head down south to Route 6 to get some more trainers out of the way? Beforehand though, Meowth is available and I'm just not gonna use it. Nah, don't feel like it, I'm already steamrolling, so I'll just leave it in the back in case I end up doing something stupider than not teaching Water Gun to my special attacker before fighting rock types. Thankfully, I do finally decide to teach my TMs once getting Body Slam from the SSN, teaching it to my newly evolved Raticate so we have a perfectly accurate version of Hyper Fang, 1 in 256 glitch notwithstanding. And with most of my team at level 21, let's take on Misty. She leads Staryu as I go with Jigglypuff, managing to land a Mega Punch after she goes for an X Defend for exactly half damage, though we do miss on the follow-up as she hits a Water Gun and a critical to follow. Half health remaining as I hit a second Mega Punch, of course missing the KO range, as a third Water Gun gets another crit to bring Jigglypuff into the very low yellow. Pound finishes off the Starfish though, as the slightly different color 2 Starfish stuck together Pokemon enters the fray. You know what? That should be its next entry. It would look very comedic on a Game Boy screen. There's just too much text. It's very funny. Nonsense aside, I swap out into Clefable, absorbing attacks for dinner as we fire back with Double Slap, hitting 4 times on the first and doing the same on the second before an X Defend comes down, and ruins my fun as the hat trick of 4-hit Double Slaps doesn't quite get the KO because of it, allowing for another Water Gun to connect before putting Starmie out of its star misery with Pound. Yes, I know, but it's not gonna stop me. Bubble Beam in hand, we're clear to head back into the SSN and confront our rival once again, of course after gaining as much EXP from skipped trainers as we could beforehand, including the entirety of Route 11, being Kanto's Hydrogen Bomb to every trainer's coughing baby, one route at a time. Anyway, our rival leads off once again with Pidgeotto as I go with Fearow, this time being evolved and leveled high enough to take on Pidgeotto, KOing with 2 Pecks after taking a Sand Attack, Gust, and a critical Quick Attack for minimal damage. Taking out his Raticate, and I'm not about to fight this thing with anything other than Clefable. Gotta throw up the bulk and see what happens, and sure enough, Double Slap is wild in terms of hitting over and over again, KOing in 2 flurries of 2 and 3 shots respectively as Kadabra comes out, immediately falling to a Double Slap and Pound combo after an unsuccessful teleport. Last out is Wartortle, and while it's able to put up the best fight and compared to Pooh's all other Pokemon, Tackle and Water Gun are still not nearly enough to stop 3 volleys of 2, 4, and 4-hit Double Slaps in a row to KO and win the fight. I'm getting the feeling that Clefable is going to be the MVP of this run. Speaking from experience of using one in normal Gen 1 runs as a kid, it is kind of a special powerhouse. Once we've hollowed out the ship 4 trainers, we're ready for Surge. I would have had a bit of me drinking a can of Surge, but I couldn't find any in stock near me in time for this video. Probably for the best, since they don't make Diet Surge. Though you could definitely describe this battle as Diet Surge, since Raticate just cleans house with a super effective dig, KOing Voltorb, Pikachu, and Raichu all in one shot apiece without a single point of damage to the rat to win the fight. Also, did you know that Dig is actually a 100 power move in this game, equal to Earthquake in Gen 1? Useless facts. They'll win somebody a bloomin' onion. Well, with that gym leader in the bag, I'm thinking that we've already turned the prediction of Clefable into truth, as we're given the TM for Thunderbolt, also replacing Water Gun for Bubble Beam in the process. Run's over, you can go home now. I kid, there are some bumps in the road, I assure you. One rock tunnel trek later that can essentially be summed up as... and we're good to go from Lavender Town through Route 8 into Celadon City. We have just enough money to get up to 4,000 coins, bit shy of the 6,500 needed to get Porygon, but no matter, we'll just get the remainder after taking on Erika. Her team kinda just falls into pieces immediately, as Pidgeotto is able to spam Fly, getting a 1-shot on Victory Bell, a 2-shot on Tangela, and a critical 1-shot on Vileplume to end the fight. Can't expect a trainer to be focused on combating her weaknesses if she's high as a kite all day. One Team Rocket hideout later, complete with a Clefable sweep of Giovanni since dear lord, Bubble Beam and Thunderbolt are one insane combo, especially when the latter rips through Kangaskhan like Taco Bell does through my digestive system. Unfortunately, even with the Silph Co in hand though, we're still shy a few $1,000 to get Porygon. So on to the Pokemon Tower we go to sweep through our rival for a 3rd time. Raticate is just a house against him, by the way, destroying Pidgeotto with Body Slam, Growlithe with Dig, Execute and Kadabra with Body Slams as well, leaving just Wartortle to be the only one not one-shot by the Ratbox playmat. It dies immediately after though, so who cares. 1 tower later, and we've gotten more than enough money to purchase Porygon. Now to sit in the box and never be used, ever. Yeah, that was probably stupid. I could have gotten a TM for Hyper Beam instead, but I suppose we'll just build up more money for that. During the great grind between Erika and the Sabrina Koga level cap, though, there are a few new encounters we can grab, like Doduo on Route 16, though I decided to hold off on Snorlax for now, since I'm sure it'll be a better target for the Master Ball than anything else, since I figured why take chances. Into Silph Company we go, speaking of which, and you know, I completely forgot about this piece of dialogue right here. Tisky Branch got me thinking, you know, like if they knew they were gonna do another generation after this, and if that was the planned name of the next region, but they decided to scrap it in favor for Choto. But if Game Freak, the Pokemon Company, and Nintendo decide to pull a really obscure piece of lore out of their ass for a new generation, I'd like to see what the Tisky region looks like. Anyway, once again, we've got a rival battle here, and we're plenty strapped for it, since, once again, Clefable is the beatdown machine. It's able to Thunderbolt twice on Pidgeot, taking 2 quick attacks in succession for the quick KO. Second out is Growlithe, taking a Bubble Beam for the near KO before he hits Ember, thankfully not burning and allowing Clefable to get the follow-up KO, with only a quarter of our HP lost, so we're going in on Double Slap against Execute. And now that I'm looking at this fight again, I just want to ask, hey there, Silph, why didn't you put Ice Beam on Clefable to counter Execute? You had the TM already from Celadon City. Oh, well, it's because I'm a very stupid meatball, that's why. Even I don't know the inner machinations of my own brain. Either way, with Clefable paralyzed and Execute KO'd by Thunderbolt, I swap out to our newly evolved Wigglytuff onto Alakazam, taking probably the biggest critical hit so far this run and getting knocked immediately into the red by a critical Psybeam, only to be reciprocating it with a critical Body Slam to KO. See, now this is why we waited until level 34 to evolve this Puffball. Last out is Blastoise, and since there's no ice moves to worry about with him, I swap to Pidgeot and start wailing on him with Fly. Though that was probably the worst decision due to it being a 2-turn attack, and letting him set up Withdraw because that becomes a problem. So much so that Blastoise is able to bring both Pidgeot and Raticate to low HP before hitting the red himself, though Fearow is able to come in at the end to save the day with Drill Peck, putting the starter's final evolution 6 feet under and ending this closer than I would have liked battle. Oh, and I guess Giovanni is here. He exists, sort of, until Clefable disintegrates his Pokemon into Stardust. Good moneymaker, I've heard. And with the Master Ball in hand, we can now go grab that Snorlax on Route 12, which should be enough in terms of encounters unless we get some really unlucky critical hits. I mean, I don't think Ditto's worth using. I'd rather not deal with trying to find any of the normal types in the Safari Zone due to their low encounter and high flee chances. And Lickitung is an in-game trade for Slowbro, and I don't feel like trying to hunt one of those down. So sod it. This is our final team. Level 41 is 2 below the cap for the next 2 gym leaders, and plenty enough for me to take out Koga first. Clefable, commit slaughter now! Yeah, that about describes the fight. Well, what about Sabrina then? Actually, Snorlax is perfect for this fight due to knowing Amnesia, giving me a great defensive option against the Psychic type while also boosting the power of Surf, and technically Earthquake and Headbutt because of the badge boost glitch. Not that I need the glitch after 3 Amnesias, as we're able to KO Kadabra with Surf, Mr. Mime with 2 Surfs after seeing a light screen, Venomoth with 1 Surf after taking a Psybeam, and Alakazam with 2 Surfs after it inexplicably goes for Recover while at full HP, and Psychic on the follow-up, barely bringing Snorlax below half HP before being KO'd. I mean, I get your Psychic and all, and you were trying to use preemptive strategy to ensure you didn't lose to any of Snorlax's attacks. But his name is literally Snorlax. He is a slow bastard, so of course he's gonna attack, and it will be after Recover goes off. Oh well, check another one for the hydrogen bombs against the coughing babies. At this point, they're just sports teams. Since we've already cleared out both the Pokemon Mansion and Blaine's gym in preparation to get to the last level cap for Sabrina, I decided that it's about time we finally finish maxing out all of our Pokemon stat experience, going back to Route 1 and grinding them once again on level 2 Pidgey and Rattata. Yes, this is a very, very, very tedious process, but it's also very much worth it if you like turning your brain off. which, as you can tell, is something I'm particularly fond of. Blaine starts with Growlithe, and while I set up Amnesia, he proceeds to use 2 Super Potions on a full HP Growlithe. I mean, that's turning your brain off to a detrimental level. At least I don't do that. Sturfs for everybody. Good night, folks. Also, my lord, he used 2 more Super Potions on Rapidash and Arcanine. You, good sir, are the dumbest motherfucker I've ever seen. How are you the guy with the quiz gimmick? One more gym to go, and it's time for Giovanni's last stand. And his final fall, because, like I've explained before, Clefable is the Rocket Boss's kryptonite. However, I do have enough money to go ahead and finally grab a TM for Hyper Beam beforehand, finally giving Fearow a good normal-type option aside from Fury Attack. Yeah, it's kinda bad. Since Gen 1 has this weird thing with Hyper Beam though, since it doesn't have a recharge turn if you get a KO with it, it's a fantastic move, especially when you're getting the stab bonus from it, though I still prefer Body Slam, seeing as Hyper Beam is 90% accurate, and we already saw what happened with Hyper Fang. Anyway, Giovanni. Rhyhorn, Bubble Beam dead, Dugtrio, Bubble Beam dead, Nidoqueen, Psychic dead, Nidoking, Psychic dead, Rhydon, Bubble Beam dead. Good day, sir. As always before Rival 6, I like to train up to around level 57 or 58 due to the cap being 62. Plenty enough for a full team to get through Victory Road while also beating every trainer. He leads again with Pidgeot as I go with Clefable, using Ice Beam to one-shot Pidgeot, Bubble Beam for Rhyhorn, Bubble Beam for Growlithe, Ice Beam for Execute, 2 Thunderbolts for Alakazam, only getting off Reflect despite seeing all special moves and being healed by a regular potion. At least here I understand why this happens though, and it's because the AI from the optional rival battle is still technically present in terms of items. If I had taken out that optional battle, I would have probably seen a Hyper Potion, or some variation of a full HP heal here. But alas, the rival has been cursed to die to a 3rd and final Thunderbolt. All that remains is Blastoise, who almost falls to a single Thunderbolt, barely hanging on for dear life in order to deliver a first turn of a Skull Bash, never managing to do any damage to Clefable as I walk away with the win. Comedic. I mean, seriously, there's no shot the champion fight provides any challenge whatsoever if this is the outcome, but hey, 1 Victory Road later, which also does manage to give us enough money to get a second Hyper Beam TM for Pidgeot, giving us an option that isn't Quick Attack, so we're ready for the league. Do you think they'll stand a chance whatsoever? Well, let's find out. Lorelei's basically a joke thanks to all of our Pokemon being part water type with the exception of Jinx, making Clefable's Thunderbolt the ultimate out here. Thunderbolt also getting a critical on Jinx basically destroys her chances of survival though, especially due to Lorelei's healing item of choice being Super Potions. And here I thought the AI of Blaine was bad for Super Potions by Gym 7. The Elite Four using them is quite humiliating. Either way, so much for Dugong, Cloyster, Slowbro, Jinx, and Lapras, all falling to Thunderbolt to claim my first of 5 victories. Bruno is a bit of a split seeing as I need 2 moves instead of 1, how impressive. Bubble Beam for the 2 Onix, and Psychic for Hitmonchan, Hitmonlee, and Machamp. But everybody's a one-shot, with the exception of Machamp hanging on by a thread. What's my punishment for missing a one-shot? Focus Energy. I guess my reward is not having to go into the menu. Agatha's 3rd, and a big pain in the bum, since despite having all poison types, she's able to outspeed Clefable with her Gengar and confuse it with Confuse Ray. And I have absolutely terrible luck, meaning Clefable's not even able to KO Gengar before being brought down to red HP. I almost made the mistake of letting Clefable go down here, but thankfully I do have a backup plan. Since we don't have abilities yet, Dig is still a fantastic choice coming from Raticate, plus Body Slam is the perfect alternate move for Golbat. However, I do decide to clean up Gengar with Pidgeot in order to get this status demon out of the way, making it through without taking any damage despite Confuse Ray landing. Thank you, Wing Attack, that is the only time you've ever been useful in Gen 1. All that remains is the rest of the team, which are able to be cleaned up by Raticate by either Dig or Body Slam in quick fashion, KOing Golbat with Body Slam, then Haunter, Arbok, and Gengar number 2 with Dig to give me another cakewalk of a win. Not as easy as I was hoping, but, you know, the true cakewalk is gonna be Lance, because Clefable, Sweep, Thunderbolt on Gyarados, Ice Beam on both Dragonairs, Thunderbolt on Aerodactyl after it outspeeds and hits Takedown, leaving just Dragonite to take a quad weak Ice Beam to the face for the KO and the win. Nothing fancy to say about that, other than it was a very solid beatdown. All that stands between us and the victory is the champion though, and is he really standing or is he kinda just on his knees begging for mercy at this point? His lead Pidgeot is immediately zapped into the ground by Clefable's Thunderbolt, and let me just say, I do like that the game forces animations on for the champion battle. It kind of ensures that you have at least a semblance of grandiose feeling now that you've made it this far. Second out is Alakazam, using 2 Reflects as I go for Thunderbolt and Bubble Beam, leaving just one more Thunderbolt to outspeed, and KO Yellow the last Spoonbender here. Third out is Rhydon, Bubble Beam, Bubble Bye, which I would also say for the 4th Pokemon in Arcanine, but he manages to survive on a little less than half, wasting his turn on a Roar. Gotta love how Roar, Whirlwind, and moves like that just do not work in trainer battles in Gen 1. A second Bubble Beam takes out the big doggo as Executor comes out second to last, falling to 2 Ice Beams after landing a Light Stomp. Last out is Blastoise, and despite hitting Blizzard after taking a Thunderbolt, Clefable's special is far too high for that to matter. Following up with one more zap of Thunderbolt, KOing our rival starter for the final time to seal the win and the championship. And that is Pokemon Blue with normal types while under Hardcore Nuzlocke rules, and we didn't even need half of the encounters. That was really easy, and I'm surprised nobody else has done it, but then again, I have noticed that Pokemon Red and Blue really aren't done in the monotype Hardcore Nuzlocke community. I don't think I've seen Antler Boy, Flygon HG, Keegan J, like none of them have really done them. So once I was looking at this graph that I ended up putting together, it took me a couple hours to find the links and everything. In fact, I will leave a link to the Google Sheet in the description so that you can take a look at all of the videos that are linked there. It was really surprising to me just how few were there. In fact, it's also surprising how few Pokemon Yellow runs are there. Gold and Silver, and heck, even Crystal hasn't been really touched that much. Maybe halfway done? And I wouldn't even say that, seeing as 3 of the runs have not gone to Red. They only went to Lance. Other ones, I mean, Ruby, Sapphire, Diamond, and Pearl, kinda not surprising, seeing as they have 3rd versions and remakes, but I feel like a couple of these are possible, as well as Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee and Legends Arceus. I feel like people just don't like those games very much. But you know what? I feel like these are the games that I want to target because I want to see how many of these are actually doable. There are a fair few of these that are impossible, I will say, because Emerald Steel, if you look at that, that's actually my video, and I purposely made that one in a reasoning that I wanted to explain how it was impossible. But that's beside the point. I'm getting a little bit too outside the scope of this video. What other runs from the graph do you want to see me do next? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see what I can knock out in the coming weeks and months. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.